The Central Bank of Nigeria has revoked the operational license of 4,173 bureau de change operators in the country. The bank disclosed these on Friday through a statement signed by the Acting Director of Corporate Communication, CD Hakama. The CBN said it is reversing the regulatory guidelines of the BDCs. The move is seen as a part of effort to restore confidence in the nation's foreign exchange market. The bank recently reviewed regulatory and supervisory guidelines for BDCs in Nigeria according to the powers conferred to the Central Bank under Section 56 of the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020 and a revised operational guidelines for Bureau de Change 2015. This comes just as the CBN Governor, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, reassured foreign investors that the Central Bank will settle the outstanding Forex liquidities of the 5 remaining banks within a few days. Cardoso said that all the different measures taken so far is towards boosting the nation's reserve and indeed creating more liquidity, which he feels have started paying off. Meanwhile, as the CBN contends in its ongoing efforts to manage liquidity in the financial system, it sold about 1.06 trillion naira in its latest open market operation auction. But the big question and the big story for today is, will all of these measures taken be effective in helping to stabilize the naira and by extension the economy? And if yes, what other measures should be taken to do so? Well, these and more as it concerns the recent move by the Apex Bank and this administration to help deal with the Forex crisis and hardship in the country is what this edition of the big story is all about. Excuse me. And that's its Forex crisis and federal government move to stabilize it. That's what we're having as a major today on the big story. We're talking about the Forex crisis that Nigeria seems to be neck deep in. And not just only that, but what are those moves being taken by the federal government to addressing it, and what move need to be taken again by the federal government to deal with the issues? Well, anyway, he's right here to deal with the issues, and we're talking of no other person but our very own economist, and we're talking of Mr. Gideon Oguns. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Now, I just want us to go through it because we do know that the Apex Bank, yes, said the affected institutions, I'm talking about the BDCs, failed to pay for license renewal. They gave us a very elaborate reason why 4,173 of them were really revoked, their license were revoked. Now, they talked about their failure to pay for license renewal. They talk about submit to reforms or comply with the CBN directive on anti-money laundering, counter financing of terrorism, and counter proliferation of financing regulation are some of the reasons they revoked the operational license of the BDCs. But we do know that all of this is made to help to deal with the Forex crisis. That is the pure intention of undermining. They've given us a breakdown on why they did all of that. But I really want to ask, do you see this really helping out? That's having 4,173 BDCs stop operation, and or do you feel this will hurt the market?
In fairness, I think going by the reasons
given
by the central bank, they acted squarely.
Okay.
Because banks and financial institutions are highly regulated
institutions, yeah.
Where the rules carry heavy sanctions. So I believe that for them rolling out the reasons why those persons have been found wanting.
Okay.
Now, the impact of such a ban is positive if well managed and negative if poorly managed.
Not well managed. Okay.
If properly managed, 4,000 plus closing shop reduces the number of BDCs to a controllable measure
that they can manage.
So the central bank could manage the orders. And in such a situation, a better control will lead to a favorable impact on the FS. Let me try to break it to where you can get what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, I really want to understand.
Let's look at it with simple figures. You have 200 persons to distribute dollars to, so that they can sell to the last user. And 60 or so of them misbehave. Therefore, you now have 140. Now, it means that the money that was initially shared to 200 will now be shared to 140. And so the business will be a little bit better for those that are in the business. And the customers will not be too shortchanged, because this money have not actually gone out. They have only changed who will be giving it out to them. So on that, it is a good one. Okay. So where the BDC will have said, my maximum is $1,000. Now he is able to give you 1,500. It's
because
it's a plus.
Reduced numbers.
Yes, it's a plus. 2, you discover that if they were this many, then the problem of speculation, I hope you understand what I mean.
Yes.
People just thinking that it will go
around
up and
tipping, or how they call it.
Yes. So the speculators have been reduced. That will mean that official prices will be able to actually detail the market much more than the black market. Thirdly, if it happens that they are properly monitored, the KYCs, meaning know your customer, which is part of the condition for you to give out Forex, will be easily known. So if I go to BDCA and I want to come to CDE, the tracking system will be easier for them to know that this person have come in, because there is a seal on the maximum as a customer I can access per day. So in all of this, it's like A+. A+. Now, the disadvantage situation will be, was it done in good faith? If yes, and so all the corners are locked, such that we will not see a situation where, as a result of lack of control, a back door is now opened.
Because that was where I was going to.
So
because sorry to cut you there, because why I will really be asking this, because for me I feel it's like killing an ant with a sledgehammer. And forgive me for saying that. And the reason I say that is, we do know that these license or the BDCs, that their license have been revoked. We've always find a back door to go back into the market and even do more speculation, because they are not under anybody's control now, and even more round tripping. So it's more like you are losing a grip on them by letting them go free, and you don't have any regulation against them. So would they not even hurt the market further?
That's where I told you that the issue of the control must be firmer. They have done a good first step, but there must be a proper follow-up step.
Okay.
That proper follow-up step could ensure that going through the back door is wiped out. Because a lot of other policies, in this they are fighting.
Because they need to stay in the market.
In this they are fighting against the FS. In recent days, there are multitude of policies that have been rolled out all at once. So you discover that with a little of the cash crunch in terms of physical dollar exchanging hand being removed from BTA, BTC, whatever. This business is already trying to close in to ensure that only those who actually need this dollar
cash
can get it. So this, if that strength that they have built is leaked, is broken, then the tame dog is going to go out. So they must keep at it to ensure that the dog don't escape.
Well, now, still talking about the dog escaping, because I'm not still too satisfied with that move, and that's why I'm always asking questions. Because would it not have been better if the CBN would have stick with their initial policy of recapitalization? Reason I ask this, let's liken it to the way they did with the bank a decade ago. Recapitalize. If you can't, you naturally just die off. So would they not have stick with that policy of recapitalization rather than you now coming out to say, okay, well, I revoke this, because naturally, if they cannot recapitalize, they'll just naturally fade off, just like we did in banks. So is that not have been a better measure? Stick with it. You started it already.
In the circumstances we are, in my humble opinion, it won't be a better option.
Why do you feel so?
The reason is we don't have the leisure of time. We have a war against Forex liquidity. Permit me to use a wrong word. If we do nothing about the exchange rate in a very draconic way, we will end up in a very big ditch. So there is a race against time in every issue that have to do with the liquidity of the Forex.
Recapitalization will take time.
Beautiful. So if you want to do capitalization, you are going to give them time. They have to call in investors. They have to raise that capital. That can take the next 6-8 months.
Time we don't have.
We don't have that time. Right now, we need anything that can curb the leakages in the in the availability of that. Because this supply side is almost being controlled. Almost. The demand side must also have a firm control.
So that's a no-no.
In my opinion.
Okay, now let's see remain with it, because I want us to really trash out all the issues around this. Now there's this recent feeling that why the central bank took this move, it was aimed at a certain section of people. And when I mean certain section of people, it almost became even regional, because we do know who the BDCs are and naturally where they normally are from. And many feel or felt that it was more like a retaliation. That they felt the BDCs were out to do damage to the economy, and now the CBN is taking its stand to deal with them also. But let's look at it. Should it have a regional approach to it? Because who is in the helms of affair is from one region, so it was all designed to affect him. Now he's now playing back the card and giving them a black eye.
Like, seriously, I know that is our nation in Nigeria. I know. So I'm not taking it out. But I don't believe in this.
Oh.
The fact is this. Let the BDCs, for instance, if we want to be fair, come out with the fact that they made the necessary disclosures to the CBN. Because why I'm agreeing with CBN is, if you don't disclose the source of your dollar, or to whom you are giving dollar to the central bank, you are a suspect. You are accused of money laundering. So
which was one of the reasons for the revoking.
If central bank is only banning and is not even arresting, then they have not gone the full throttle. Because we know that the dollar speculators have made merchandise of Nigerians. But where did they get the extra dollar they sell? We don't know. Who do they sell to? You have seen another charge there of terrorism financing. These are huge crimes that in civilized places, if you are accused of them, you want to clean your name. So let the BDCs come out. These are my filings by which my disclosures were made. If they did, we can begin to think of this sentiment. I think they are just trying to wait for sentiment. These facts are clear. Did you or did you not? And if the answer is no, there is a stipulated penalty. And the penalty has been applied. So let's avoid sentiments or emotions. If anybody have an otherwise, let him file a case. CBN did not hide why he did what he did. So if you know that it is not what they are saying, then come forward with your ideas or with your points and let the public look at it and not whip up sentiment. There are too many sentimental things that we try to do. 2, let us not forget that Nigeria is on a bad foot.
At the moment.
At the moment. Whatever we can do to get it right should have the applaud of everybody. Though I'm not saying people should be victimized, no. But if somebody erred, let the errant person be dealt with. Others will take you. That correction will also save us $1 or $2. I think I don't share in the sentiment at all.
Okay, now let's still remain with one of the charge being given for the revoke of that and money laundering. There's this great feeling from some quarters, because we now have the National Security Advisor also a part of this recommendation of most of the money being taken as ransom now being laundered through the BEDCs and making it clean. And many will say, even if you look at some of the kidnappings and the request for dollar, this is a direct financing of some of these BDCs. So let's look at that and how likely that might also be, especially as we look. Because why some are also skeptical about that, if we feel that is the reason, they'll be having a huge chunk of dollar in the hands of these BDCs. But we're not having that much. Because if we're having that much, speculations will not be as it is and ripe. So I want you to look at both angles I've just raised.
Yeah. I want to look at it first from the criminal point.
Let's go there.
You discover that last year precisely, most of the kidnapping sections of this country, they were demanding dollars.
Yes, most certainly. You're right.
And because you begin to ask yourself, why? They must have a reason why they were not interested in naira. They were interested in dollars. Now, we know from the picture that is in the public space that kidnapper stays in the bush. So what do they do with the dollar in the bush? Just bringing common sense to the fact that there must be a line between which what they have collected is brought back into society, reformed in a way that it turns to naira to make them spend in the bush. Because if you have that chunk in naira, you will be forced to either carry it in Ghana Moscow or put it in a bank. But if you have
and you raise a whole lot of suspicion.
Fine. But if you have it in dollar, you can keep it so much that you can just be bringing it out in piecemeal.
And be having a lot
of funds. And so that the NSA is making that point. I believe a word of information are valuable to him. And that's why I still want to say is a step in the right direction. Now, if you look at the flip side, which is with this dollarized economy that we have, is it helpful to us? I've removed the criminal element now. If everywhere becomes dollarized, BDCs are having a free day, just pumping dollars into the economy. What happens to the naira? It will keep falling flat.
Because more persons would like to trade in the dollar than the naira.
Everybody will demand even dollar salary. So something has to be done to arrest that kind of a trend. How many times in America we were to just to post that? In America, do you do things in naira? Even as low as our naira is, I'm not sure there will be anywhere in America you'll be allowed to spend it. Look at China. Is the yen not very low?
Yes.
Do they spend dollars?
No.
So we see that if government does nothing to this ugly trend, truly we'll be worse off.
But anyway, we will not be worse off, but rather go on a break now. And that's what we do in the trend of things here. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion looking at the Forex crisis and the recent move by the federal government and also the CBN to deal with some of the issues. They're on the right path, or is there another direction they need to take? And what will be the final outcome of all of this decision taken by the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria?